Silence, a weapon sharper than any blade, a force more crushing than any storm. When wielded by the weak, it is a sign of cowardice, of emotions too wild to be tamed, of words too undisciplined to be spoken with wisdom. But when wielded by the strong, silence is something else entirely. It is a mirror, forcing others to face their own flaws. It is a hammer, shattering illusions built on fragile pride. It is the weight that crushes those who once sought to control you, revealing that true strength is not found in words thrown carelessly into the wind, but in restraint so powerful it leaves the world unsettled. Marcus Aurelius warned us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most people fear that power. They cannot bear the emptiness your silence leaves behind. They expect reaction, expect engagement, expect you to validate their chaos with your presence. And when you don't, when you choose to let your silence do the talking, that is when they feel its full force, when they are forced to wrestle with their own demons without you giving them a way out. But understand this, your silence, if not guided by wisdom, can do more harm than good. Silence born from pain, from bitterness, from unresolved emotions is not the silence of a Stoic. That is the silence of the weak, of those enslaved by their emotions, unable to face them with clarity. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. True Stoic silence is not the act of turning away. It is the act of standing firm, of withholding unnecessary words because they are not needed, of letting others reveal their own weaknesses without feeding the fire. It is the silence that says, "I am in control and you are not." This is why they fear you. This is why they resent you. Because the moment you stop engaging in their noise, they must sit in the silence of their own minds, and most people are not ready for that battle. So, will you master this power? Will you wield it with wisdom, or let it become a weapon against yourself? If you are ready to take full control of your emotions and embrace the unshakable strength of Stoicism, subscribe now and begin the path to true dominance over your mind. The weapon they never see coming. Silence. A force more devastating than rage, more unsettling than chaos, more powerful than any word spoken in the heat of battle. To the untrained, it seems like nothing, just an empty void, a lack of response, an absence of noise. But to those who understand its true nature, silence is a weapon, razor-sharp, precise, and capable of cutting deeper than any insult, any argument, any desperate plea for attention. The weak scream to be heard. They argue to prove their worth. They lash out because they cannot bear the thought of being ignored. But the strong understand that true dominance is not found in volume. It is found in restraint. A real man doesn't give way to anger and discontent, and such a person has strength, courage, and endurance. Those were the words of Marcus Aurelius, and they hold the secret to absolute control. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you refuse to engage, is the moment they begin to break, because they were never prepared for the power of your silence. Most people live their lives at the mercy of their emotions, slaves to their impulses, constantly seeking validation from the outside world. They need your reactions like oxygen. They thrive on your responses, your arguments, your willingness to step into the fire with them. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you stand there, unmoved, unaffected, indifferent to their attempts to provoke you? That is when the balance of power shifts. That is when they start to unravel. Because your silence forces them to face themselves, to sit with the thoughts they have been avoiding, to wrestle with the insecurity they have spent their entire lives trying to drown out with noise. This is why they lash out, why they push harder, why they try to drag you back into the chaos. But you must not waver. You must not break, because the moment you give in, the moment you react, you hand them control. And control is something a Stoic never surrenders. But this is not about passive silence. This is not about avoidance or cowardice. A true Stoic does not withdraw out of fear. He chooses his moments with precision. He understands that silence is not the absence of power, but the ultimate display of it. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. These words from Epictetus hold the key to unlocking an unshakable mind. They want you to react. They want you to lose control. They want to manipulate your emotions so that they can dictate your next move. But the moment you master silence, the moment you choose not to engage, they are left powerless, because they cannot fight an enemy who refuses to step onto the battlefield. And that, right there, is where the war is won. Not with words, not with anger, but with an unshakable mind that cannot be moved, no matter how hard they try. So the question remains, will you master this power, or will you continue to be controlled by the weak? Will you be the one who dictates the terms of battle, or will you keep allowing others to pull you into their chaos? The choice is yours. But understand this, the path of true strength is not for those who need to be understood. It is not for those who seek approval. It is for those who are ready to break free, to embrace the silence that terrifies the world, to become untouchable. If you are ready to step into that power, to dominate your emotions instead of being dominated by them, subscribe now. The world is filled with noise, but the few who master silence will always rise above. Will you be one of them? The weight of silence. But understand this, your silence, if not guided by wisdom, can become your greatest enemy. Silence born from bitterness, from resentment, from wounds left to fester in the shadows, is not the silence of a Stoic. It is the silence of the broken. It is the silence of those who have surrendered to their emotions, mistaking avoidance for control. You think withholding words will make you powerful, but if that silence is laced with unspoken rage, with unprocessed pain, then it is nothing more than an escape, a refusal to face what is truly inside you. Epictetus warns us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. The undisciplined mind uses silence as a shield, a place to hide when reality is too difficult to confront. But the Stoic mind does not run, it does not hide. It stands firm in the storm, unshaken, unbothered, unbroken. True silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of mastery over them. It is the space between reaction and response, where wisdom is born, where emotion is tempered, where control is solidified. This is why they fear you. This is why your silence leaves them restless, uncomfortable, exposed. Because the moment you stop feeding their chaos, the moment you refuse to participate in their games, they are left alone with themselves, and most people cannot bear that weight. They cannot face the emptiness that roars inside them, the echoes of their own insecurities screaming back at them in the void. They lash out, they provoke, they manipulate, anything to drag you back into their world of noise and distraction. But you are not a puppet on their strings. You do not react on impulse like the undisciplined masses. You do not break under pressure like the weak. You know that true power lies not in proving yourself to others, but in proving to yourself that you need no one's validation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And your thoughts? They are your fortress. They are untouchable, unshakable, impenetrable. While they scramble to pull you into their storm, you remain in control. While they drown in their emotions, you stand untouched, watching, waiting, knowing that the one who needs to speak first is always the one who has already lost. So, the question is, will you master this power, or will you let it master you? Will you embrace the silence of a warrior, the silence of control, the silence that bends the world to your will? Or will you fall into the trap of the weak, using silence as an excuse to avoid the battles within yourself? This is where the choice is made. This is where the weak are separated from the strong. If you are ready to break free from the chains of emotional slavery and step into the unshakable mindset of the Stoics, the path is before you, but only the disciplined will walk it. The power that cannot be touched. The world has trained you to believe that silence is surrender, that to remain quiet is to admit defeat. But this is the illusion of the weak, the belief that power is found in volume, in arguments won, in words thrown like weapons in desperate attempts to dominate. They do not understand that true strength does not need to be announced. It does not seek recognition. It does not beg to be understood. The strongest minds in history did not waste their breath trying to prove their worth to those who could never comprehend it. They understood what Seneca warned us of long ago. He who is brave is free, and freedom is what your silence grants you. Freedom from their expectations, from their manipulations, from the endless cycle of reaction and regret. When you refuse to play their game, when you refuse to be pulled into their noise, you stand above them, not in arrogance, but in absolute control. And that control, it terrifies them, because they can no longer control you. They can no longer predict you. They can no longer use your emotions as levers to bend you to their will. But do not mistake silence for passivity. The true Stoic does not withdraw from life. He masters it. He does not stand in the shadows out of fear. He chooses where to direct his energy, where to place his words, where to wield his power. He speaks only when speech serves a purpose, only when his words can shift the course of reality itself. Every syllable, every pause, every moment of stillness is intentional, and when he does speak, the world listens. Because his words are not like theirs. They are not driven by impulse, not tainted by insecurity, not poisoned by the need to be heard. His words carry weight because he does not waste them. His silence is not empty, it is full, overflowing with presence, with awareness, with dominance over himself. When others react, he observes. When others panic, he remains still. When others seek validation, he knows that he is already enough. And this is what they cannot understand. This is why your silence is more powerful than their screams, why your lack of reaction is more destructive than any insult they could ever hurl. Because they crave your attention, and when you deny it to them, they wither. So the question remains, will you rise above? Will you embrace the silence of the unshaken, the silence that bends the world to its will, the silence that cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, cannot be used against you? Or will you fall back into the chaos, reacting, explaining, justifying, giving your power away with every unnecessary word? The choice is yours. But know this, the path of true strength is not for everyone. It is not for those who seek comfort. It is not for those who need to be understood. It is for those who are ready to become untouchable. If you are ready to take that step, if you are ready to step into the mindset of the Stoics, to dominate your emotions instead of being dominated by them, subscribe now. The world is watching, but more importantly, you are watching yourself. Choose wisely.